We'll move on to another two people who are doing their job, but doing their job to the best I've seen this season. Matthew Stafford and Josh Allen. I mean, I have to admit, in the last few weeks, just getting a bit cold, getting a bit ill, like sort of not watching as much football in the last few weeks. I probably wish this was the first Sunday I'd sat down and be like, right, I'm going to watch a few games. And this game was just like captivating. I know we all get guilty of only talking up the games that have prolific offense. I know that's good for the neutrals, but it was just fascinating to watch. These two do what they did. I don't know who to start with, but yeah, just your feelings on the game. What was it coming out of it? Were you as impressed as I am?
I was quite impressed by the Rams. I thought that they did really well. I was surprised that they managed to put as many points up as they did against this Bills defense. That's been
Yeah,
pretty good most of this season. So that was a bit of a surprise, but they looked really, really good. And I know they're not in the lead at the moment of their division. I know that the Seahawks are currently one game ahead of them. But I think that the Rams have got a very good chance of getting in
and they beat
as a
Seattle
what?
in the only missing
Yeah,
session.
but
Yeah,
I think they've got a good chance of getting in. Not just. I mean, Seattle have got to play. They got to play us on Monday Night Football next week,
yeah,
and as you said, they've got to play the Vikings as well. They've got quite a tough run in. I'm not quite sure who the Rams have got, but yeah, I mean, I think that the Rams have got a good chance of getting in, even as a wild card, because I feel like with Washington, I'm not quite sure if it's going to stick for
I
them in
know.
order to be able to get into the playoffs. And I do think the Rams could be the team that come in and nick it from them at the end. So I think they look pretty good. And yeah, I mean, Stafford just looked his normal self, to be honest. I mean, we've seen it many times with Stafford, how good he can be. I just felt like the O-line really helped him out and managed to keep him upright throughout a lot of it.
Yeah,
And obviously, when you've got the weapons that the Rams have got in Puka Nakua, Cooper Cup, then that just really, you can just blitz teams. I was just a little surprised that the Bills defense gave up as much as what it did.
yeah. I was going to say with the O line, Matthew Stafford apparently said in the build up this week that if the O line plays well, like the offense, like anything can happen, and we saw that.
Yeah,
I'm stating the obvious here, but particularly impressed with Puka Nakua and also with the unselfishness of Cooper Cup, that screenplay
yeah.
at the end on the third down where he made the block and Nakua scored. I think there's just like a real camaraderie on this team that you don't see as much, and obviously he had injury problems at the start of the year. It was great to see what he did right all game. Was there the tiptoe catch in the
Yep.
corner? There was one over the top. Like, yeah, take it
I
away.
think
Sorry,
I think
I'm just
they're a really good team who you haven't seen the best of them this year because of the injuries,
and
and
now
it's
it's
like
clicking.
and now you're starting to see the best of them because they are all fit. It's not just about obviously missing Puka for the time at the beginning of the season. They did have a lot of injuries on the O line.
Yeah,
And that you're starting to see that now that they're all back as well and they're all fit, that's where you're starting to see the benefit of it. And the whole offense just looks so much better. The front seven in the defense has been good all year, but the secondary, you can score against them, and we kind of saw that yesterday. You had 3 passing touchdowns for Josh Allen, and I'm not saying that that's like uncommon for him because obviously he's capable of doing that, but it does go to show that the secondary didn't do great against this Bills offense.
yeah.
And normally the Bills offense is run first with Allen and Cook and Ray Davis and all that. So yeah, I think they looked really good as a unit, the Rams, and I think that whoever they play, teams are gonna struggle to stop them offensively.
I purposely moved forward quickly on the Vikings Falcons game because I have about 4 different points I want to ask you about the Bills, all related to this game. Josh Allen's performance, does this put him MVP favorite to have 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, no turnovers? He's
I
basically
would, yeah. I
Spider-Man
mean,
yesterday.
I'm not sure if he, I'm not sure if he is. He is. So he is the favourite to win it. A big favourite now. So yeah, I mean, I would expect him to. I think that when you look at who else there is, everyone's going to go Saquon, but that's not really going to happen, is it? Because he's a running
No.
back.
I always refer back to the year that Cooper Cup didn't get it when he had the Triple Crown and Rodgers got it. I think when history starts to other players, it's the same in any sport. It's a quarterback award now. You've been the one who's always led that by saying that, and you've always been right. So I think he is in the running.
Yeah, I think, but Barkley should be in the running, and to a certain degree does deserve it. I think as this year he does, but unfortunately he's not going to get it. And then when you look at all of the quarterbacks as a whole, it's a little bit like, so, you know, who else are you going to go to? You're going to go to Lamar. I mean, they've lost quite a few games. It's not great. You can't go for Patrick Mahomes. It's not been particularly spectacular. It's been quite offensively.
But they have to win all their games. I feel like they literally to go like
you could go Goff. I mean, I feel like, you know, that's a team that's going to win their division, probably be the number 1 seed as well. So I kind of like, I can understand why people will go Goff, but I think they're going to come out and go, yeah, but the run game. So that kind of feels like that will stop that one. Josh Allen kind of, not only with the passing, but he is the run game as well. So I think if you throw that into it, and I'm not saying that they're going to get the number 1 seed, because the Chiefs just seem to grind out results all the time. But I think that he probably is like the most valuable player to his team, at least. And so I think that he probably will end up picking it up.
I feel like you've read all my notes there for any other questions, because you mentioned run game, and I've got down yesterday James Cook obviously only had 20 yards on 6 carries. Based on this performance as well and going forward, I know they still put up 42 points, so it feels ridiculous to say, but is this how you beat the Bills? Because we've seen James Cook have some big games this season and almost stop Josh Allen for needing to be Superman. And because that defense is not going to be that poor every week, so it feels like that if they step up, is the way, almost forcing Josh Allen to have the ball in his hands. But James Cook is a great player, and it feels like that made it, to me, it felt like that was a recipe for success for teams going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think slowing James Cook down and the run game in general is probably the way forward for most teams. Unfortunately, in this specific game, it's difficult to come out and say that the Rams slowed them down, considering they gave up 42 points. So it's like, I think it was more a case of that the Rams just got the points on the board early, and then were able to sort of go, okay, well, every time you score, we're going to score. And I think that was more what it boiled down to in this game. There wasn't anything. I don't think the Rams did anything particularly spectacular on defense that slowed the Bills down. I think they just happened to get more points earlier than them, and then got themselves in a position where they could just constantly be in the lead. I think that was all it was. So there's not really anything else. I don't think this is a recipe of how to beat the Bills. I think it's more just that the Rams just happen to get that lead and then manage to just keep it going. I mean, maybe to a certain degree, it shows that you're going to have to put up a hell of a lot of points in order to beat the Bills, and so therefore you've literally got to go for everything. That's the way to beat them.
When they went for 4th down at the end, I was like, I know McVay is always said to top 3 coach, but even I was surprised.
I think that's kind of like, when you're in that sort of game, I do wonder if there is an element of, we just have to do everything. Like, we don't have a choice. We have to go for everything all the time. And if it costs us, then so be it. But the thing is, if we didn't go for it, I mean, they could have ended up losing if they don't go for like 2-point conversions or something like that. Yeah. So I think that's the argument for it.
The interesting thing for and when I mentioned about the Nakua touchdown, was A, that he went into the end zone, and then B, obviously that led on to, because he could have gone down and killed more clock. We've seen that with players in the past. But then obviously the Bills go all the way down the other end. They get down to the 1, and you know where I'm going. they call a quarterback, well, not the brotherly shove, whatever the Buffalo version is, the Buffalo-y shove, right? And then they burn a timeout. And Tom Brady was going mad, and even me, who's not a big Bills fan at all, was just sat here like, I've even been on Twitter today saying, could you not have taken another 10 seconds to line up? Like, what was the thought process there? Like, what was your opinion on that play call? For me, it was just like, considering the experience of Sean McDermott, he's not a new head coach.
Yeah. I mean, it's a mental
And he's done it
thing to
before,
do.
sorry, with Damar
Yeah.
Hamlin in that. And I criticised him heavily for that fake punt in the last playoffs.
Yeah. It's a mental thing to do. I think their theory is that they just want the ball in the hands of the guy who's most likely to score.
And it's always going to score.
Yeah. It's like, and that's it. That's all it is. I don't think there's anything else to it. I think it's literally like our best chance of scoring is doing this. It's kind of, Jalen Hurts, isn't it? Our best chance of scoring is the push sort of thing, and that's it. So I think that was probably the logic behind it. Analytically, it was probably a stupid thing to do. The logic would be much more that you've got to pass the ball, you've got so many plays in order to be able to get it, and you would use up the same amount of time. You wouldn't end up giving up a timeout. So, yeah, it's. I think he's probably gone. This is our best chance of scoring, and we need to score as quickly as we can. And this is our best chance of scoring, so we're just going to go for it. But like I say, analytically, I think it was probably the wrong thing to do and made very little sense from that point of view. But he's gone for the gamble, hasn't he? And then he's not got in, and everyone's gone, well, that's stupid. What are you doing?
I know. The other thing, I know Fred's always keen. He'll say when he's hosting about, us being educational for people, for new listeners and stuff. And I did think about this when I thought about the players, that there are other, I know I've just criticised Sean McDermott, but there are levels to, maybe he's told the offensive coordinator, when we're in 3 yards within, Josh Allen is going to call, a quarterback sneak, and there's no audibles there. I think my biggest pet peeve was, I know that's a thing and there's a hierarchy in his coaching staff, but for a guy who's in the MVP conversation, who's played at such an elite level, I just thought someone would have stepped in, whether it be McDermott to have a word in his OC's ear, whether it be Josh Allen to make a call, but then maybe he thought he was going to score.
Yeah.
But obviously a lot of people who see that just think, oh, that's on, they point fingers the easy one, but I think it was a collective blame is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is to a certain extent. I mean, McDermott is a defensive coach, isn't he? So it probably is the OC at the end of the day who's made that decision, and McDermott's probably going to get it in the neck as part of like you say, the group think kind of thing when it comes to that decision
Joe
that was
Brady,
made.
right? And he
Joe Brady. So yeah, I mean, there probably is an element of that. I mean, who knows? I mean, Josh Allen could have made the decision there and then, thinking this is the best chance. So it's like, I think to a certain degree, they're probably all fallible a little bit, but it was just one of them things where what it probably needed is it needed someone to just come out and go, we're not running the ball here. Like we're passing the ball until we get it in. And if we end up at like fourth down and or third down or whatever, and then maybe we change our mind, but certainly for the first two plays, we should have been trying to pass the ball and win it that way, and that would have made so much more sense.
And then final question, I mean, we did, to be fair, we did give the Rams their dues, but my final question on the Bills is, again, what you alluded to before with the 1 seed. Do you think that's gone now, especially with them playing the Lions next week?
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people are saying that they think the Bills might beat the Lions, but to me, it's more the Chiefs. I just don't know where the Chiefs lose. They just seem to they sneak their way past every game. So I don't know how you get past it.
Yeah, completely agree. And then just before we move on to the dreaded Chiefs, I know, again, you mentioned about the Rams in prime position for the division now, and I said about them already beating Seattle. Do you think they're favourites to Not we won't talk about them making the playoffs, but do you think they're favourites to win the division?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think the Seahawks looked pretty
Well,
good.
Yeah,
and they're a game ahead of them. I mean, they do have a tough run in the Seahawks, so that's going to be difficult. So the Rams are going to have to make it up somewhere. But as you say, they have already beaten the Seahawks, which is, if it does become a tie, will be on their favour. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one for them. I think the Rams. I feel that the Rams have got a good chance of getting in though as a wild card. To me, I think it's probably the Commanders that might fall away. They've got to play. The Commanders have got to play the Eagles. I know that, so that's
they're
going to be
lucky
a
they got
tough
the
one.
Saints this week, and obviously Carl's broke his hands, but yeah, they've still got to play the Eagles.
Yeah, so there is that one that could be difficult for them. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be close for the Rams. The reason it's as tight as it is because of all them games that they lost early on. So
Yeah.
hopefully they will. Hopefully they'll get somewhere because they're a good offense and
I want to
they're
see
a team that can really cause an upset as well.
I was going to say, as a neutral, even though it's on your
Yeah.
side of your conference, you want to see the Rams in. You want to see the Buccaneers, considering that they've beaten the Lions and the Eagles. Like, these are the teams that you're going to probably cause an upset or make noise in the postseason, or at least give us an entertaining game.
Yeah, I think like as wildcard teams, I feel like Vikings, Packers, and Rams would be the three. And then obviously, yeah, you can see like the Bucks winning theirs, Seahawks. I mean, in a way, you kind of hope that if the Rams can come through, I feel like the Rams are a more exciting team than the Seahawks at the moment.
Yeah. No offense, Gino, if you're listening.
I'm sure he is.
We'll move on to the Chiefs game. I know we always do the quick recap of the other scores. Obviously, Fred Steelers won 27-14. They didn't drop two stinkers to the Browns. The Giants lost again, and obviously it's been a while since I've been on, but I think we confirmed that I'm not wearing that Eli Manning jersey.
I think you're good.
Yeah.
I think you're good.
Yeah, happy there. Dolphins beat the Jets. Don't care about that. Same with the Jags beating the Titans. Eagles just outlasted the resurgent, well, at least in terms of performances, not wins, Panthers 22-16. As we mentioned with the Bucks, they beat the Raiders 28-13. Seattle beating the Cardinals 30-18. And then the banged up 49ers. I thought this was the week that the Bears finally might get a win, considering Caleb's looked better. And then he dropped an absolutely awful first half. They lost 38-13. Yeah, we won't dwell on Caleb, but we will move on